Hello, everyone. God bless you. Thank you for joining us again. Pastor Sherman Ford here this afternoon, or really this morning, with another piece we call Conversations. We're super excited to have today two leaders in our church who are also unique in other ways. You're getting ready to learn a whole lot more about Dr. Ayo and Dr. Natasha Osho. Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Natasha. Thank you both for being here.
Good morning, Pastor.
Listen, I want to thank you very much. I know, first of all, that you two are just a wonderful couple. You're wonderful people, and I know that you have busy lives. So quite honestly, I mean this sincerely. Thank you for taking this time to share with us. This interview is really, for you, kind of trifold, and so I'm taking advantage of the both of you today in three ways. One, we just want to get to know about Ayo and Natasha. Would you share with us your story, just kind of your story. That is, your story as a couple, your story together, and then we'll move on from there. We're trying to let our leaders know, our congregation learn a little bit more about our leaders through this process. Tell us about Ayo and Natasha.
Okay. I grew up in Augusta, Georgia, born and raised, and went to college there as well. My first time ever being on an airplane was to my interview at Meharry, which is in Nashville. And that's where I ultimately ended up going to medical school. Did 4 years there, graduated 2010, and that was the year that I met Ayo. And it was actually it was a pretty bad moment in my life when I met him. So for people that aren't familiar with medical school and matching and all of that, so I had graduated and I did not match into a residency the first year. And the week that I met Ayo was the week that I found out I did not match. And so, I was like moping in my apartment and not interacting with anyone. And my friend came and she was like, hey, just come to Walmart with me. And I'm like, I don't want to go to Walmart. And she literally dragged me out of my apartment. We went to Walmart. And so we got back to the apartment, and I was helping her put things in her apartment. And Ayo was visiting his friend who actually lived next door to her. And so, Ayo's introducing himself, and he said this weird name, and I'm just like, whatever, I'm not going to ever see you again. So I kind of brushed him off, and then all of a sudden we just started running into each other on campus. Even though we literally lived on campus in the same building, I'd never seen him before. So I'll let him kind of pick up.
All right. Well, you can tell from my name, I'm Ayo Osho from Lagos, Nigeria. I'm the last of 5 kids, and we moved to the United States in 2004. My mom played this stuff called the Davy Lottery. I think it's Diversity Lottery. So when she won, it covered my dad and kids under 21. So I was 18 then, and my sister was about to turn 21. So we just had to hurry up and leave. And came to the U.S. I always wanted to be a doctor since 7 years old. So by then I was like, I got to stick to the plan. I went to University of Minnesota for undergrad and studied biochemistry. It was a huge class, 120 people, and it was just 3 black people. So I was like, where are all the black people I see on MTV? So right after undergrad, I'm like, I'm going down south. And I applied to Meharry and met Tasha, as she said. I was just walking in the hallway, and I realized we had similar interests. She likes to play video games. She's into sports. That year when she didn't match, Sunday after church was like football. She taught me football, American football. So I'm like, what's going on? She's like, oh, that's first down, second down, and the math, and that's how I got into football. Yeah. Now I think I watch more than her. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah. Story.
That is an awesome story. Now, Tasha, we've talked before. Of course, you guys are one of 3 couples at our church that lead our couples ministry here. I can't remember if I heard that Natasha taught you American football before. Tasha, tell us about how you just became a fan. I mean, it's not as common, I don't think, as we were supposed.
No, you know in the South how they say there's 3 important things. There's God, there's family, and there's football. So, but yeah, I got into football. I was in marching band in high school, and I played saxophone. And so I figured if I had to go to these games every Friday, I might as well learn what's going on. So it kind of started like that, and then it just grew into this uncontrollable obsession.
Now is your team the Falcons?
Yes.
Your team is the Falcons, okay. And what about you, Ayo, your football team?
Happy wife, happy home. You know.
Okay. Your team, her team is your team. Okay, got it. Listen, you all have a wonderful, fascinating story. Walmart. That's what I'm going to remember now. That you all met because of the Walmart trip. That's a trip to me. Let's talk a little bit about this piece. I really wanted to talk to you guys, and I asked you to come to also talk to us. And would you help us a little bit with this COVID-19? Both of you are medical doctors, professionals, and there's a lot going on. And I'm not saying that you have the answer to every agony or the balm for every bruise, any of that, but you know more than us. And so talk to us a little bit about what it is. What should the church's response be from a health perspective? And then maybe we can also hit family and individual.
Well, so COVID-19 or the coronavirus is very similar in terms of other viruses that we've kind of come across. Specifically, other coronaviruses that have been dealt with recently would be like MERS and SARS. This is different in terms of the genetic makeup. So that's what makes it, quote unquote, novel. It's something that we technically haven't seen this version of it before. And I think that that's a contributing factor to kind of how we're approaching it. We're kind of learning more about the virus each day, things that work, things that doesn't work. I think the most important thing in terms of kind of flattening the curve would be the CDC recommendations on social distancing. Washing your hands at least 20 seconds, avoiding people that are sick. If you're feeling symptoms, staying at home. Because outside of that, we don't have a scientifically proven treatment for it. And a lot of the medications that we are trying, we have to remember are still experimental. And we're collecting data on those medications and how people respond as we're using them. So prevention is going to be the key. And the whole thing about flattening the curve, I mean, just every year, we have the flu virus, and we have even the common cold is a virus, and those things will kind of run its course in the community. But flattening the curve is all about not overwhelming the healthcare system. And so, if hospitals, this is just throwing out random numbers, but if a hospital had to deal with 10 or 20 COVID patients a day versus hundreds of COVID patients a day, and then they will better be able to respond and treat and have adequate resources and adequate personnel. And so it's a virus, it will run its course. The timing of that, we don't know. So it's, I would say just follow as much as we can the CDC recommendations. And just, for the younger people, Ayo and I's age group, are younger, we have to take this serious.
Dr. Natasha, let me ask you this. As a gynecologist, before Ayo responds, anything particular you would say about COVID-19 to women who are expecting?
We don't have a lot of data with COVID and pregnancy. We do know that pregnant women, pregnancy in itself kind of weakens the immune response. That's a biological mechanism, so the pregnant woman doesn't reject their growing baby while it's in utero. So we know that pregnant women are more susceptible to infections. We know that the flu in pregnancy is much more dangerous than when you're not pregnant. So just going on kind of how pregnant women and their bodies deal with infections in general, we know that there could potentially be an increased risk for preterm delivery. There could also be an increased risk for respiratory problems if they do contract COVID. And that's just generalizing based on other things that we know about infections during pregnancy. So again, the most important thing is making sure that follow CDC guidelines, social distancing, and all of that.
Thank you, Doctor.
Well, from the church's standpoint, it's we're waiting on when we're going to lift the stay-at-home order from the president, which is April 30. But I'm just wondering, how do we return back to our normal lives? Looking at the chairs and the congregation, it's right next to me, and so I think we just need to trust God. He is the ultimate. He allowed this, and we use our common sense. Washing of hands has always been priority. Like you look at medical advances, it's not the medication. It's not the number one killer of lives in the third world countries, cholera. It's because of sanitation. So, we're saying that now because...
Ayo, say that again. The number one killer
is cholera, like diseases like that. So we're here, we're saying we have better lives. It's not because of the medications. People die in the hospital from other things. So it's sanitation, washing of hands. But we have to go back to the way God made us. We're meant to feel each other. We're meant to touch. So I can't wait for social distancing to be over. But the virus is novel, like Tasha said, and it's going to run its course, and we just pray we don't lose too many lives.
Okay, so in the church, I know you mentioned the church, and then we talked a little bit about kind of the medical field. What about families? When we're living together, you two, of course, live together. The mom, the children, how important is it, really, for the children to not go see auntie or uncle or grandma and then come in and out and go back and forth? And this is a crazy question. You may not know the answer to this one. I don't know. You said it's fluid. Both of you, we're learning about it. Airborne. Is it airborne? But within the family, everyone's under the same roof. How do we manage that? Do we just stay, shelter in place, and we don't go anywhere?
They've been sending us tons of emails every day from the hospital leadership, and we could use ourselves as examples. I went to see my family, my parents in Minnesota. They're in the 70s, like March 13, before they shut down everything, and we got back, I think, on Thursday of that week. Tasha was feeling sick, cold, and so I'm like, I have to be healthy, so we slept in different rooms for 3-4 days, and...
Hold on, Tasha started to say something. Tasha, what you going to say?
Well, just kind of touching on how to address families. For me, that...
Oh, I thought you were going to say something about you being sick, and no... Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, it was a huge source of anxiety for me, having just left Ayo's family. So I was asking him all the time, like, is your mom, your dad, how are they? Are they good? Are the family good? Is anybody sick? Because because I would have felt awful if I unknowingly had spread something. So kind of, going back to like the children and can they see their grandparents and things like that. I think that that's a very personal decision, but we don't have a lot of information on how children are with this virus. So they could be like, the biggest group of asymptomatic spreaders. And just because they're children, they might have runny nose for a day and then bounce back and then they're fine.
Define asymptomatic for all of us and those who are going to watch.
Oh, so those are the ones who, if you test them, they would test positive, but they have absolutely no symptoms. So they feel completely fine.
Yeah, that's what we don't know if we have. We've not been tested. But like I said, she was sick for 3-4 days, and, I didn't touch the remote. I was just like, whatever you want to watch.
He still took care of me. Like, he brought me some
And after 4
soup.
days,
Yeah.
I started feeling sick. That's why I texted you.
Yeah, I remember.
So I told him about work. I was like, hey, it was a Monday. And the funny thing was, we stayed home. I wasn't partying or anything. I was just like, why did I still fall sick? So I felt bad. Yeah. And I told them, like, hey, I'm sick, running nose, sneezing. They're like, oh, don't come to work. So I have my medication regimen, NyQuil, Benadryl, Theraflu, and the next day I was fine. So I was like, hey, I'm fine. Can I come back to work? They're like, no, do not come to work for a week. So, within families, they sent us this email about wiping out the refrigerator, how many things can you wipe? You keep your house clean, but I think if someone is sick, give them the distance. If you have the privilege of having multiple rooms, have that person stay in that room. Nobody else use their bathroom, and then when they feel like they're feeling better, you can clean that room and then have them back in the family. It's like when we do treatments for nuclear medicine and we give radiation, so you want that patient to stay away for a couple of days because you feel like they are emitting nuclear, radiation. So that's kind of, you treat them like they're sick, and just kids obviously are not affected by this. In terms of, we're not seeing a lot of kids in the hospital being sick. It's more from the 20s, 30s, and above.
And then one of the things, if you are taking care of someone who is suspected to have COVID or who has it, in addition to trying to isolate them as much as possible, you do want to wear some type of face covering when you're interacting with that person. And then you also want to make sure that you wear gloves, making sure that you're changing your gloves each interaction. You want to launder their clothes separately. Their eating utensils and plates, you want to set aside a separate cutlery for them, and then make sure after they finish their meal that you're washing that immediately. But that is their separate, equipment.
Or just use disposables.
Or you can use disposables as well.
Let me ask you one other question. I've been to your house a couple of times. You all have a dog. And so we've heard, right, that at least I've read, I don't know how accurate it is, that COVID-19 can be spread through animals or pets. I'm not telling you to get rid of your dog, not that you would listen to me anyway, but I'm just saying. Okay, go ahead.
I've heard that as well. There's also been 2, I think they were case reports overseas. I don't remember which country where a cat did test positive. So, but that's not to say they spread the virus. But there was one incident, and there's been I think the number is now 1 million people infected with COVID, and just one report of this animal that was infected.
She loves your dog, Ayo.
Yeah. There are reports about animals being, carriers, but I don't think so. Unlike some other diseases like ringworm, or where the life cycle involves the animal. In this case, it's just like a surface as well. If you have COVID, you sneeze on this, the virus lives on it. So if the animal comes in contact with a COVID patient, then they can spread it to another uninfected human. But otherwise, I don't think it's.
That's really good. You guys are awesome. Any closing word on COVID? I have one more thing I want to talk to you about. Any closing word, Dr. Ayo?
I think it's just, it started off as an infection illness, and now it's becoming more financial, and all that put together, panic, anxiety, just for me personally, just draw closer to God. That's all I can say. He's the ultimate physician. He's the great physician. We can sit here and talk about the CDC guidelines. Yeah, it's common sense, but, faith to get through this and to pick up yourself when it's over. So people are losing their jobs, right away. I have some friends, not within the medical field, but even within the medical field, they have started cutting down salaries. So that, the mind makes you sick if your mind isn't even healthy. Just thinking, the worry, things that wouldn't bother you on a regular basis.
That's really good.
So
mental health.
Yeah.
Your mind can make your body sick.
Yes.
And our spiritual health is what you're really talking about when you talk about faith.
Yeah. I go outside running. Some countries are policing people not to run. But I go outside because the gyms are closed. I cycle, and I just have the mind that even though this thing is out there, I'll do my best, use my common sense, but God owns the whole land.
That's right.
And if he doesn't say I'm going to have it, I'm not going to have it.
Right, right. Dr. Tasha?
Well, I would just say, being a Christian and my faith in God, that I feel that helps me become a better physician. Because there are times in the heat of the moment, things happen, and really God is the only thing that keeps me calm and sane. And then I've had situations, taking care of patients in the hospital, where it's literally like I hear God's voice, and he tells me what to do, and then that's what I do. So I just think, the healthcare system, we have medications and, all these fancy equipments and things like that, but ultimately it's God. And I think that if we, keep that perspective, and then it helps us to be able to do, things that, are beyond our wildest imaginations in terms of what we can do.
Let me tell you, I love y'all, man. I mean, tremendous. Both of you closed on faith, and Natasha, I think I told you, maybe it was a year or two ago, I was at my doctor's office. I told you that story. And I'm in the doctor's office, y'all, and you know how they put you in the little rooms after you check in? I check in, I'm doing my thing, and I'm in my room. And I look on the wall, and there's a picture of Natasha on the wall. And there's a reference to her being in that particular medical group. And I hurried up with my appointment so I can get out and I can call her. I said, I just saw your picture. She wasn't seeing me, of course. She's a gynecologist, praise the Lord. But I just thought I'd share that story. That blew my mind. I told you that. I was like, wow, Natasha, look at there. Okay. So if y'all need a gynecologist, listen, don't call our office. Just look her up online, and then you can hit her up on email, or you can call our church office, and we can give you some information on her. Last thing, and I'm done. You are one of two other couples, three couples total, that co-lead our couples ministry at church, and I want to thank you for that. The last event we had was the dance piece. I did all right? Yeah. And then Ayo came in. You came in a little bit late. Of course, Natasha was there. This is pre-COVID, of course. And we did that dance piece. Say something to us about couples ministry, just kind of where your heart is on that, and then we'll wrap up.
Well, we thank you. It's a privilege. And, when you mentioned us as members of the couples ministry leadership, I was like, wow, Pastor, why did you do this? But, it's growing on us. And I think, reading the Bible, I realized nobody was perfect. And I think that's why you did what you did, because I'm not perfect. And now that you've put us in that leadership, it makes me think more about my decisions, and, how to be a better husband, because I can't give examples if I've never really done what I'm saying. So for the couples ministry, we have, plans, and we're just praying this goes over. For this year, we had the dance. We also have the couples ministry marriage game in June. Hopefully that still stays. And then we have an outdoor program that we're planning for October. But we'll see how that goes after all this, because the cost was a little bit up there, and we're trying to find a way of bringing it down. But for now, we're waiting on the COVID to blow over, and then we can start the what's it called again?
Cell group. Yeah, the cell groups, which I'm really excited about. I think one of the things that got me excited about the couples ministry is being around other couples and kind of hearing, other issues that couples have in marriage. I mean, because we've been married.
We're babies.
We've been married. It'll be 4 years in August, and so like Dorothy and Irv, like they've been married forever, and Kwame and Lori, they have some years on us as well. So I think that it would be good for us just to kind of mingle with other married couples who've been at it a little longer, and we can kind of share experiences and yeah.
Well, I'm excited because, again, as you said, we did it on purpose, right? So we have a couple that is more senior in terms of their time, kind of middle, And then the two of you, of course, while younger in marriage, have been together for years prior to marriage. I want to say thank you. Ayo, thank you so much, my friend and my brother.
Thank
Natasha,
you,
thank you so much, my friend and my sister. You all are a wonderful power couple, and your power, of course, is found in the Lord Jesus Christ. We love you. Thank God for you. You guys are fantastic. So thank you for every single thing. And y'all are matching. It's like a couple thing. Y'all doing the match thing. And so, yes, thank you for that.
I want twins, so I'm like, let's twin.
Twins. Okay, baby Ayo, baby Natasha. Listen, everyone, we want to thank you so much for joining us. Here's my request. Would you do me a favor? When you watch this, I want you to share it, okay, on all of your pages. Have everyone watch it with you. Do a watch party and just kind of hang out with us. So I want to whisper a word of prayer. We're going to thank God, and then we're going to close this segment of conversations out. Let's pray together. Heavenly Father, how we thank you and praise you for this day. Thank you for another opportunity to have a wonderful conversation. I pray your choices and richest blessings on Ayo and Natasha. Thank you for what they do in your kingdom and what they do in their profession. I pray that you would keep them safe and healthy and protected. And thank you for their example with physical fitness, how they taught us just recently about physical fitness and exercising and working out. And then God help Pastor Ford to get better in that area. In Jesus' name, amen. God bless y'all. Bye-bye.